Most of America and the entire world is counting down the days until the federal government finally cuts interest rates. Now, the reality is whatever the US does, the other G7 countries do, certainly Canada, which is where I'm from. And we just straight up copy the Fed because our economies are so closely tied. What, you think Trudeau has read an economics book? Come on, man. He just lets Jerome Powell walk him on a leash like a dog. He walks like a dog. I don't know, maybe a dirty dog. Okay, that was the fucking worst Trump impression ever. I apologize. The question is, when will interest rates go down? And number two, what's going to happen? Let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, the Federal Reserve is responsible for interest rates and taming inflation, keeping inflation within the target rate of 1 to 3%. That's the Federal Reserve's entire job. And they're not really good at it. They set the interest rates, and not the rates that we pay at the bank for a mortgage or a car loan. They set essentially the wholesale rate. Because other banks borrow from other banks and borrow from the federal government, they have to add their profit on top of the federal funds rate. So for example, the federal funds rate right now is 5.5%, yet if you get a mortgage, you're paying somewhere around 7.1%. That spread is the bank's profit. So the lower the federal funds rate can go, the banks can also lower their profit to make it more enticing for more people to come back and borrow, get a mortgage, get a car loan, etc. Now, a lot of top economists have been predicting that the Fed was going to cut rates in March, but Papa Powell pretty much smashed that at the last federal meeting. He said the old usual, inflation is going down, we like what we're seeing, but we're still data dependent and we haven't seen final confirmed proof that is indeed going to stay down. Even though if you follow this channel, we bust down the data with commodities, with gas, with oil, and how that's going to translate to disinflation and deflation. Yeah. Everybody knows at the Federal Reserve that deflation is coming, but they got to say what they got to say because let's be real. If Jerome Powell came on and said, we're most likely going to have disinflation and deflation the next 4, 5, 6 months, that's going to hint to the market that, hey, we're going to be cutting rates pretty soon. Stock market's going to go crazy. People are going to go out and buy real estate they shouldn't be buying. They're going to buy Rolexes. They're going to buy a bunch of stupid shit because they know party time is about to happen. Now, throughout history, we know the government and the Federal Reserve cuts rates kind of out of nowhere. I mean, not out of nowhere. The real people know it was coming. But it seems like it was out of nowhere. Oh my God, we got to cut rates. The deflation's happening. Oh my God, we got to increase rates. Inflation's running out of control, just like we saw. Like literally almost nobody saw the interest rate hikes that happened and how inflation was going crazy. Like nobody saw that coming, but it was right there for us to see. But the general public doesn't watch this stuff. I mean, I am going to say this, but I did sell all of my 50 rental properties right at the peak of the market before the market started going down with interest rate hikes. I'm just saying, subscribe to be in the know and to make some goddamn money. So back to the reason why Jerome Powell said a cut in March is likely not going to be an option. That's because the economy in the US is just chugging way too high. I mean, the last jobs report adding 330,000 jobs, whatever it was, that's insane. GDP was also up like 3.4% in Q4 of 2023. Like their economy is just chugging, baby. Life looks great. Everything looks like it's kicking ass. But why is it so hard for people to afford a home and rent? Why is it so hard for people to afford groceries, clothes, services? People are complaining left, right, and center. We see it in the data. Consumers are pulling back on spending, but the economy is all fine, right? Everything's crushing, right? Well, here's the thing, and it's a bit of a brain twister because these economic reports are making it look like the economy is kicking ass, like that jobs report. But if you look deep in the data and peel the onion, which is what we like to do on this channel, you can see that the majority of those crazy amount of jobs that were added were government jobs or low-paying wage jobs like part-time jobs. And this report also didn't take into account are people getting second jobs, which we have anecdotal evidence. A ton of people are coming on the news and surveys saying, yeah, dude, I have 2 jobs now. I have 3 jobs now just to keep up and pay for rent and pay my mortgage and get eggs and milk and groceries. I need a second job. But at the Federal Reserve, they're looking at these reports going, oh my God, look at all these people working. The unemployment rate is low. Everybody's kicking ass. They must be making money. They must be happy. No. It's a false report. It's fake. The jobs that are being created are low-paying jobs. People are getting second jobs. It's insane. And Jerome Powell's finally starting to admit this because he is saying that the writing is on the wall. We're headed towards disinflation and deflation. We're headed most likely to some sort of economic pain. Unemployment rates will likely rise. And that's what I appreciate about Jerome Powell in the US. They're very, very direct and very data-driven, and they will say the truth sometimes. Whereas where I'm from in Canada, dude, our Federal Reserve, our Jerome Powell is like,
we're never going to cut rates. Are you kidding me? There's no room for that. We're not cutting rates anytime soon. I'm not even thinking about that.
Yet the Canadian economy is literally a net zero GDP. And when you look into the more data like we like to do, we're actually negative GDP. We are in a recession. In a recession, you cut rates, moron. That's the playbook. But he's like, no, I'm not doing nothing, until eventually he's just going to go, damn it, and just have to cut rates like crazy, which is Federal Reserve and government fashion. Oh, those cuts are coming, baby. They're coming, and they're coming huge, especially for Canada. But that's for another video. Now, the next Fed meeting is March 19th in the US, and if they don't cut rates then, the next meeting is April 30th and May 1st. Now, at that point, that's what people are most likely thinking they're going to cut rates. And by that point, we're going to get 3 more CPI reports and a lot more jobs data. So people are thinking, yeah, we're going to have that disinflation finally start showing up in January, February, March by that May meeting. And the reason why so many people are so confident that we're going to cut rates at that May meeting is because gasoline and oil are so much cheaper this time than they were last year. And that's how the CPI reports work. They're based on a year-over-year basis. So we're comparing the gasoline prices and the shipping charges from this time last year. And gasoline was totally high. And it's expected that oil and gas are going to stay low for the majority of 2024, if not all of 2024. So we got literally some deflation about to happen. And as we know, gas controls everything. As much as the Federal Reserve likes to pretend that their interest rates control everything, dude, it always depends on oil and gasoline. Why do you think America is so fucking crazy about oil when they find it in other nations and take it over? Oil runs everything. If oil is high, inflation is going to be high, costs are high. If oil is down, inflation is going to come down. And let's just walk the chain. If gasoline is cheap, farmers are using diesel and gas to make their crops and send them to the grocery stores. If the truckers have to pay less gas to drive it to the grocery store, shipping costs come down. If the grocery stores get those groceries at cheaper prices because the trucker paid less, the farmer paid less, they pass on those savings to you to bring you into the store to make more money. Thus, deflation. Gasoline controls everything. And let's look at the price of gasoline today from this time last year. Enormously lower. That's going to be hitting the CPI reports in the next couple of months. So on the final question, what will happen once the Fed cut rates? Not if, when. Well, number one, it usually means there's a problem. So while everybody's waiting for these rate cuts to come, that usually means there's something bad about or happening right now, i.e. deflation is coming, which is not good for the economy, just like inflation is not good either. A lot of people say, well, what's wrong with deflation? Let's get lower prices. That's great. More deflation. Well, that means that GDP is shrinking. That means the economy is shrinking. And that means things aren't progressing. The government wants things to progress. Why? They want the little hamsters on the wheel running, chasing the cheese. If everything's going down, wages going down, prices going down, the economy is shrinking, people are getting poorer and poorer. The government wants the illusion that people are getting richer and richer, that you're getting your little 3 to 5% raise at work every single year, even though inflation is like 10%, but it doesn't matter. Feel like you're getting ahead. If the economy isn't moving forward and feeling like it's getting ahead, that's not good. So deflation isn't good either. And the most likely reason why they're going to cut in this cycle is because of deflation. Prices coming down and the fear that they're going to come down too fast and too much. Thus, they're going to lower rates, turn on the money printers again to stimulate the economy and try and land that soft landing, right? You don't want too much inflation. You don't want too much deflation. You want a perfect little equilibrium economy. And that's what they're trying to land. But let's say they do cut rates. What's going to happen? Well, obviously in the real estate sector, which is what so many people are looking at, it's going to go boom again. Now, it's not going to go as crazy as the pandemic era, but it's going up. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? There's so little supply, so much demand. The millennial generation is gigantic. The Gen Z generation is also huge, almost coming of age to home buying age. And we have so much little inventory. It's going to go insane. When it becomes more affordable to get a mortgage, millennials are going to be running to buy homes again. It's going to be madness. And we're already seeing it now in Canada, where I'm from. It's not even the spring market yet. And just because of the possibilities of rate cuts coming soon, the real estate market is already going fucking bananas. Can you imagine once they start cutting? And the same thing is happening in big cities across America. So while everybody prayed and wanted a real estate crash Armageddon so they could finally get in the housing market, yeah, that ship has sailed. Real estate in quality cities that have good GDP growth, good economic fundamentals, dude, that real estate market is going nowhere but up from this day forward. That crash, bye-bye. Maybe next time, maybe 2028, maybe 2030, when we have the next recession. Maybe then the real estate recession will finally crumble. But right now in this cycle, I just don't see how. All the fundamentals are stacked on the side of real estate going up. It has to. There's literally no other way. I mean, we just had the largest and fastest rate hike cycle ever, and real estate did pretty much this. Yeah, prices came down a bit, but not nearly as much as economists were predicting. And why? The fundamentals, supply and demand. There's just not enough houses for the amount of people that want to buy. That's propping up real estate prices and holding them steady from this day forward until cuts happen. So what do you think? What's going to happen when the Fed cuts rates? Are you going to jump in the housing market? Do you think everything I said is bullshit and Armageddon is on its way? Let me know in the comments. Smash the subscribe button. I will see you in the next video.